Hello, everyone. Today I'm looking at Empire Earth. This was a very cool game back in the day that I really played a lot of. And to be honest, I was always very confused because I got these confused between this one and Age of Empires. And honestly, going back to this game and playing it today, it's still very, very good. Even I think even some in some ways better than Age of Empires because in Age of Empires you just have a few different civilizations, a few different factions where you go from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age. And Age of Empire 2 is kind of like the medieval to imperial or Renaissance era. And then Age of Empires 3 is the imperial to modern era. And what's really surprising about Empire Earth is that it does all all of the ages, and I love the intro. The intro is so cool, so kino. It's this giant montage of history from the Stone Ages to the Middle Ages to Imperial to modern combat, and then the future. And so this is the one thing that all I always thought was super cool about this game. Like people will say, "Oh, look at Age of Empires! It's the best game ever." I'm like, yeah, it's okay, but does it have like laser beams and stuff in it? So the only thing I think Empire Earth suffers from is maybe graphics. If you zoom in on a character model, they are extremely blocky in a very almost comical way. But I'm kind of almost perplexed why this game didn't get more popular because it's really really good. I know the age of RTS games is kind of behind us, but it's really cool to play. I think when I was younger, I didn't really do the main campaigns, and the main campaigns are there's essentially the Greeks in the Stone Age, the English in the Middle Ages, the Germans in the Modern Ages, and then the Russians in the Future Ages. Of which there are only two. There are digital and nano, but there's a lot of really cool stuff like laser beams and lock-on missiles and all that jazz. Um, so when I look at this game, I remember that I mostly played just custom campaigns back in the day. You would start at the Stone Age and work your way up, and it works very similar. Like it's almost basically a clone of Age of Empires in a lot of ways. In that you have your civilians, and their job is to go out and get things like I think there's five different resources. There's food, which is the main one, which can be agriculture or animals, which you hunt down and then extracted, and then that's done while plants are renewing resource. Then you have rock, timber, gold, iron, and I think that's it. There might be one other thing I'm missing. And so those are your main resources, gold being the most rare, obviously, and iron. And so you use that to create special units. So timber and stone would be, oh yeah, stone, timber and stone, those would be used for like siege weapons or vehicles. Food and stone would be used for like special units and archers. Normal civilians and warriors would just take food. And then if you had like special units like priests or something, then they would be gold essentially. So all the rarest stuff requires gold relative to your relative to the rarity of the resource, obviously. I guess the one thing that this game does not have that Age of Empires has is it has many, many factions. So, if you're playing as the English, you get the longbowmen. If you're playing as, the French or, the Turks or whatever, you get different units or different special factions. So that is one kind of area where Empire Earth doesn't have that facet where if you play the game in any different age, you're gonna have the exact same units as the other guy, essentially. So you won't have like a weird advantage really. So it can make it a little bit repetitive, I suppose. But I still love it. I still almost feel like it's the superior game because it has every age. And so I remember fondly there was one game I had where I'd started from the Bronze Age and gone all the way up, and you can delete units that are just useless burdens on you, and because you do have a population cap like other games. But on that note, though, the one thing I do like about Empire Earth is the population cap is like way higher. Like in Age of Empires 1, I think it's like 3. Like you only have 30 guys at once, including your like civilians, which is just like really small, 30 to 50. And in Age of Empires, it's like hundreds, if not, yeah. And it just feels larger, it feels broader, it's a lot more fun, and in a way it's a little bit more simpler because you don't have those specialized units, and it feels a little bit faster than Age of Empires as well, and larger in a certain way. But yeah, again, I can see the people's feedback saying, oh well, you're playing as the exact same units and just like, how you would smite your enemies. Like, yeah, no, that's fair. Again, all the stables are here. You have your main soldiers, then your specialty soldiers, watchtowers, walls, city centers, barracks. It's very much, you know, there's nothing really new here, honestly. It's just the scope of the time scale that exists. That's really fun. So, oh yeah, so as I was saying, I had this one game where you know, I started from the beginning and I gone through the Middle Ages, everything up to the modern age, but I had this like band of knights that essentially were the remnants from the medieval ages, and they like I remember there was this huge battle with one of the PC players that we had like so many wars with, and I was finally able to beat them in the Middle Ages. So I had this like group of horseback knights that were the victors, and I kind of kept them in like the heart of my base, and I kind of forgot about them. And so by the time I got to the modern ages with artillery and machine guns, I realized, oh shoot, I still have these, you know, these horsemen at the end. And so it kind of got to this point where I was wanting to build a lot more units for this giant offensive against this one other, you know, enemy, and I need to get rid of these units. And so basically I remember this really cool moment where it's like the enemy's coming towards the gate, and instead of deploying my other guys, I deploy my knights, and you have this kind of last charge of these knights against machine gun fire. And it was really epic, it was really cool, but they almost immediately got wiped out, and barely killed a couple of the enemy units. But it reminded me a lot of that scene from The Last Samurai where Tom Cruise makes the last charge against the machine guns. Yeah, so yeah, Empire Earth, it's not a super complicated game. I'd say it's very straightforward. I think it's a better introduction for RTS to beginners, and it just feels very fun to play. Even the campaign, replaying a bit of it, the Greek campaign, is very somewhat straightforward. I think honestly the first mission is honestly a little bit difficult because you have to do a transport mission. And transport missions are absolute nightmares in the scope of RTS games because you have to put your most valuable units inside a singular vulnerable unit in a new type of warfare, naval, that you've had no experience in whatsoever. So when you start that naval warfare, what you don't realize is you need at least 2 warships to defend the transport from other ships that it's going to come across. You think, oh well, they won't. There always are. So it's a little bit. It feels a little bit unfair in that regard. I remember there were old school cheat codes that you could enable on these games that would give you infinite resources and whatnot. And that's kind of, I think, as a kid, how I played the game. I just gave myself infinite resources, revealed the map, and just built a huge army and took everyone out because that was just the most fun thing to do. And yeah, that's kind of like an issue or a feeling that you don't find as much, that RTS games aren't usually fun. They're sometimes overly tactical, like a stratagem, and it just feels kind of onerous and bothersome. But when I think of RTS games, this is the game that comes to mind. This was the game that I fell in love with as a kid, and I still love it today. It's still very, very fun and very simple. I don't know. It's just a great time, I feel, and yeah, just a good game. Anyway, I know the age of RTS is kind of behind us, but I wanted to highlight this and just kind of know if anyone else has also played it, because when I think of the classic RTSs, you of course have StarCraft, Age of Empires, Dawn of War, maybe if you're into Warcraft, or Warhammer rather, Warcraft 3, and Age of Empires, or sorry, Empire Earth. And I just feel like I've never heard anyone mention this game, and I really have fond memories of it. I think it's pretty good, pretty decent compared to its, its competitors. And yeah, anyway, a good game. Wanted to highlight it. Very fun. Very cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.